Well, just picked up a very rare bike, in the US at least. This is a 1992 Yamaha Serow 225. And I have never seen one before in person. I've never owned one before. And I definitely have never worked on one before. So what makes it rare is the name Serow. So these bikes were actually marketed in the Japanese market as Serow, and then in the US market they were called the Yamaha XT 225. So this is actually an imported Japanese model and not the US version, because this would say XT 225 instead of the Serow. And the Serow is named after a Japanese goat, and the goat is known for being lightweight and nimble, and that's kind of why they named this bike after the goat. So pretty cool bike. These bikes are known to be extremely reliable, lightweight, and known to pretty much go anywhere. So I think I got a pretty good deal on this one. I picked this one up for 500 bucks. The seller stated that he was hearing some noises in the engine. He shut the bike off, parked it, and never turned it back on. He said that it does turn over, and right now it doesn't start because it's been sitting, but he said once it does start, you can hear like some noises going on in the engine. He was going to fix it up, but he never got around to it, and that's why he sold it to me for 500 bucks. So that's kind of all we know about this bike. It does turn over. I did try turning it over. It turns over pretty slow, so I think the battery's kind of dying. It did not start up when I was there, and I've tried to start it multiple times. It will not start. We'll attempt to get this one running today, and then we'll hear what's going on in the engine. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully some parts are out there if we have to dig into the engine, but the goal for today is to get this one running and driving by the end of the video and not have to spend a ton of money. That's the goal. So let's get this one off the trailer and we'll start looking at it and digging into it. See what we find. This one should be pretty fun. Alright, let's get a little walk around to this thing. So none of the plastics look broken. Tire tread is good. Pipe looks good. Looks original. I'm not seeing any leaking from the engine at all. Looks to be the original carb in there. This one does have electric start. Front tire tread's good. Has the original headlight, all the original blinkers. Looks to be the original grips on there. Only has, what is that, 8,316 miles. That's pretty low. Gas tank looks nice, seat looks good, no rips in the seat. I mean, overall, the thing is pretty darn clean. And the key on, you choke it, and then you push the start button. And you can crank this thing all day, I've tried it. And it will not fire. So it turns over pretty smooth, but it will not fire up. So the first goal is to get this thing to fire, and then we can hear what's going on with the engine. Supposedly there's a pretty good sound coming from it, so we'll see. But let's get this thing in the garage and we'll start digging into it. Alright, we got the bike in the garage. Let's kind of go through the whole thing. So we know that when you crank it, it does turn over smooth. I'm not really hearing any noises from the engine. It doesn't get caught up. So I don't think it's like a cam chain problem, I wouldn't think. Doesn't sound like there's a broken valve because it would get caught halfway. It does sound like there's a weak battery for sure. Yeah, looks like all the lights are working. Let's see. Blinkers. Yep, that blinker's working. That blinker's working. That one's working. That one's blinking. See if the lights work. Yep, headlights working. High and low. Cool. Then you've got your engine stop button here. It was on run when we were trying to start it up. Let's see if the horn works. No, not really. Tail light. That's working as well. So everything works on the bike and it does turn over. So let's go ahead and start checking everything over. We are going to start with the oil first. I don't believe there's a dipstick on here. Nope. This thing takes 1,000 milliliters. There we go. That looks pretty darn clear. And there's actually a window on the side that I missed from before. That'll tell us if the correct amount's in there. Now it's on its side a little bit. Oh, there's oil in it. Looks pretty clear too. So perfect amount of oil in there. I wonder if the seller changed that out before he sold it. Alright, taking a peek in the gas tank. See what that looks like. Oh man, that is spotless in there. Look at the cap. That looks really good. Take a peek. I don't think a single speck of rust in there. It looks really good. Yeah, that looks really, really nice in there. Plenty of gas in there too. Alright, what's underneath the side panel here? Take a peek. There's the battery. That looks like a relay, and then maybe the CDI right there. Actually, it looks like it doesn't even have a fuse. Oh, there's one. Let's check the fuses quick. In here, it looks like there's a fuse. But that looks like it's just for the wiring. We can check it anyway. Doesn't hurt. Yeah, fuse looks good. It's not broken. And the spare looks good as well. So it's definitely not the fuse. Get that back on. Everything looks buttoned up in here. All the connectors are looking good here. Nothing's disconnected. We know that the solenoid is working because the electric start's working, so these wires are connected for sure. We've got the positive going to the solenoid as well. That's all good to go. All the lights are working, so I'm guessing all those look good. Yep. So battery looks pretty newish. So I'm not seeing anything wrong with this side at all. So everything is hooked up good there. So this one actually has a couple bolts in it. Let's get those out. Oh, just came right off. These plastics just pull out of here. And it looks like the air box is right underneath there. Zip that off there. Let's see what kind of animal is living in here. Hopefully not a mouse nest, because I was turning this thing over quite a bit. Oh no, that looks really good. That looks brand new. Looks like it was just oiled up too. Yeah, it's got brand new oil on it. What the heck? Let's take a peek inside the air box. See if anything's clogging it up or restricting it. You never know. Especially being an old bike. No, it looks clean in there. No restrictions, no nest. Yeah, that looks really good. We can get that back on. Before we look underneath the seat, let's check this out. So this is where the toolkit is. Could there be one in here? Let's see how to get this thing on. I don't think so. We could not be that lucky. Let's see. Nope, empty. I thought for sure there'd be an original toolkit in there, but unfortunately that was taken out and lost forever. Seat is in fantastic shape. That's the original seat cover on there. And only one little rip right there that was repaired. That's it. That is pretty darn good for a trail bike. Alright, what's going on underneath the seat here? So another relay. Looks like the regulator, rectifier probably right here. A couple plug-ins here. Looks like possibly coming from the stator. Another plug-in over here. Almost looks like it goes down to the kickstand. Ah, well, check that out. That is interesting. So this wire goes down to the kickstand here, and there's actually a safety switch for the kickstand. So I wonder if the kickstand has to be up to ride this thing or to start it. Alright, well, we're gonna put the kickstand up and attempt to fire this thing back up. Let's see what happens. Put this thing with the kickstand down, so let's see. Okay, kickstand up and turn it over. Go. No, I don't think so. It probably still starts with the kickstand down. It probably just doesn't go, you know, and rev out completely. So that was not the problem. All right, let's see. Ooh, that gas looks pretty yellow, doesn't it? Looks pretty old. Been sitting for a while. Look at that. It's pretty dark. Probably sitting a couple of years. But I'm not seeing any water in the gas at all. So it should still fire up on that gas. Yeah, it's just a little discolored. Definitely been sitting. So petcock is working good. Good gas flow coming out of the gas tank. It just looks like it's been sitting for a while. So we can get the gas tank off of here. Let's see if it works this way. Yep, both on and reserve are working. So it's definitely getting plenty of gas to the car. Alright, let's see what's going on underneath the gas tank here. We'll leave that rubber in place there. Alright, coil is right here. Looks a little crusty, doesn't it? Oh, it's on there good though. Looks like the ground's attached to the frame there. Looks like that got hot at one point. So really, it's only the coil. I think the horn is over here. That's it. Not too much going to it. So there's only one wire going to the coil. And from the stator, you've got, let's see, a couple different wires coming through from the stator. Yeah, I think these are the stator wires here. So I'm guessing pickup coil here, stator wires, neutral wire. Not a whole lot. And I'm guessing the orange wire going to the coil is coming from the CDI. Let's see. Yep, right there. Let's see if those are connected. That's the wire we're after right there, coming from the CDIs. So you've got the orange wire coming out. I think that's the only wire coming out of the CDI. I'm guessing the black is going in. That's going to be the hot wire coming from the stator. You've got the pickup coil, I'm guessing, the blue and white, going in, or the trigger coil, and then you've got the black and white, I'm guessing that's the kill switch, going in. So 3 wires going in, 1 coming out. So as long as we have spark coming out of the orange wire, we should be good. All right, taking a look at the engine here, looking for any leaking at the head gasket. Not seeing anything leaking from the engine at all. Valve cover caps look good. No leaking from those. No leaking from the head bolts here. Check the other side. You can check timing with this plate here. No leaking from there. No leaking from the exhaust. No signs of oil leaking anywhere. And you can see the carb says made in Japan right there. So that is the original carb. A little bit of leaking from the carb it looks like, so maybe it was overflowing with gas. Probably could use a carb clean. But that's pretty much it. Looks pretty tight there. So let's go ahead and get the spark plug out next. We're gonna check for spark and compression. All right, taking a look at the spark plug boot here. We'll just check that quick. Looks like it's seen better days here. Wire looks pretty good. It's exposed. Let's just chop off the end. There, that's a little bit better. Looks pretty good. Get that twisted back on there. So I have no idea if this bike has spark or compression. So hopefully it at least has spark. Hoping. Let's see, spark plug's tight in there. Running an NGK plug. Let's get that out. It wasn't in there very tight. Ooh, it's really black. Look at that. So I wonder if this thing's been running on choke for a while. It smells like gas though. So it looks like it was getting gas to the plug. Let's see if we're getting anything. What do you guys think? Turn this thing over. Let's see what we get. Oh, really good spark. Definitely getting spark. Yeah, very consistent spark. Must not be getting gas. Or compression's really low. So let's go ahead and we are going to test for compression right away and see what we get. I don't believe there's a decompression mechanism on here anywhere. I'll have to look it up. All right, according to the manual, the lowest the compression should be is 129 PSI. It can go all the way up to 170. So we're hoping for right around like 130 to 170 is what we're hoping for. see what we get here. So we can do throttle open. All right, here we go. Throttle open. Turn this thing over. Got our jumper pack on here. Let's see what we get. Here we go. That is really high compression. 200 PSI. Oh, that is pretty darn good. That is really good. Let's try it one more time. I wonder if there's oil in the cylinder. All right, throttle open, quick start. Yep, right at 200. So that is crazy good compression. I don't think we're gonna have a problem with compression at all. That is really high. Let's take a peek down the cylinder, see what that piston looks like. It's kind of hard to see in there. I wonder if I can kind of go like this. Huh. Cylinder wall looks pretty good. You can still see the cross hatches on there. See that? Piston has a little carbon on there. Nothing crazy. Switch this to our other view here. You can see the valves up there. Kind of see the seats in there too. Lots of carbon on the head, it looks like. There's the cylinder wall. Looks good. Looks really good. So, yeah, everything checks out. So piston looks pretty decent. Little carbon on the piston. Valves look okay. Just a little carbon everywhere. So, overall, not horrible. Cylinder wall looks awesome with the cross hatches still on it, no scratches. All right, let's go ahead and get these valve covers off here. And we're going to check the valve clearance. And we're also going to check the timing. I wonder if this thing skipped a tooth or something and the timing's off. So hopefully I can fit these in here. Let's see, yep. That one came off pretty easily. There's one here as well. Get this one out of the way. I knew that wasn't going to fit. Oh man, it's on there. There we go. That one cracked free. And one over there. Oil. So oil's getting to the top end, that's good. So hopefully that means that we don't have a problem with the top end at all. You can hear this one clicking. Cap 1, cap 2. Let's get those off. Let's see. That one came off very easily. Somebody was definitely in here before. Yeah, both of them came off really easily. Let's go ahead and turn this thing over. 17 millimeter. And we're looking for a T or a line. Let's see what it is. Not seeing anything yet. All right, there's a T with a line. Want to come up, make sure we're on the compression stroke here. Holy, oh man. Well, that's the problem. Before I show you guys what's going on, this is the T. You see the T with the line there? Kinda. Hopefully you guys can kind of see it. There, T with a line. So we come up here, and you know you're on the compression stroke when the valve clearance, you can kind of hear it. So there's the exhaust, that one feels pretty good. And then coming over to the intake, check this out. Oh man. I think that might have been the noise the seller was hearing. That is like 30 times the clearance it should have. That is huge. And it looks like this is already like tapped out. It almost looks like, yeah. I think this broke off. This piece here. Look at that. So the screw-in piece here on the rocker that contacts the valve here, I think it's broken off. Because look at this size of this one. See how it goes down all the way there? This one's like broken off where it should be contacting the valve. That is definitely the problem. That's why this thing won't start, and why you're hearing a knocking noise. But we're gonna still check timing, make sure that's on. That is horrible. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That is a new problem for me. I've never seen the little bolt piece here break like that. That takes a lot of force, or a lot of wear, or a lot of no oil to the top end. That is crazy. But I'm guessing that's what the seller was hearing in the engine. All right, let's get this off of here. Oh man, it's on there. Oh. Oh. I don't think the timing's been checked for a while. Oh man. All right. Take a peek. There's oil in it. All right, looks like our timing is spot on. So we're looking at the little arrow here. And then there's gonna be a line straight up and down right here that lines up exactly with that arrow. Hopefully you guys can see that. Kind of hard to see the line on the sprocket there, but we are perfect. So timing is spot on. I think the only problem is that valve. All right, let's try to get that bolt out of there. So I don't know if the valves just got so tight that it broke off there or what. See if we can get it out. It might be tough. Might be deformed in there, so we might not be able to screw that all the way out. Alright, what we're going to try to do is get our cutting tool in here, which I don't know if it's possible or not. We might just have to get it enough to shave some of that down. This is going to be difficult. Just so we can get the bolt out of there. I don't know if that's going to work or not. My tool doesn't really fit in there too well. I don't want to cut anything else. I don't have to. I'm going to try to get like a little file end on here instead of a cutoff tool. Some of that. I think it's coming. Getting a little easier to twist out. There we go. There we go. Come on. Oh. So you can see it broke off right there. So that's supposed to have like an extension on it about that long. Must have just broken off. That's crazy. But our threads in there are good. We can get this paper towel out now. Get no metal shavings in there. Everything looks good. So now if we can find a new one of these, we'll be back in business. Alright, so I found another one of the adjuster screws here. This is what it's supposed to look like. This was off of a XT125 I had laying around. So you can see the difference between the two adjuster screws. This is the one that came off the bike. And you can see how much shorter that was. So it was missing that whole bottom end of that. I'm not sure how that happened. I'm not sure if the valves were just really tight at one point and we're just wearing that out. I'm not too sure, but at least we have another one we can put in. And we've got our little lock nut here for it. Alright, let's get this guy in. I want to drop it in. And we're going to have to look up the correct valve clearance specs here. Get our lock nut on there. Alright, valve clearance specs for the intake clearance is going to be 2 to 4 thousandths of an inch, and then for the exhaust it's going to be 6 to 7. So let's get these adjusted. Just turn that adjuster screw in just a hair. A little bit more. Let's see what we get. Alright, crank that down. Clearance now. That looks good. Alright, plenty of clearance there. Alright, then the exhaust is going to be set to 6 to 7 thousandths. So we'll try 7 thousandths right now. See if that feels good. It's a little bit tight, so I'm guessing it's set to 6. Let's see. That's a little bit tight. So we're just going to crack this free. Just loosen that up just a hair. So it's going to be set to 6 thousandths right there. So we hold that there. Tighten that up. Should be perfect. There we go. That feels good. Alright, now valves are adjusted correctly. Now that I'm looking at it, it looks like the top of the valve is kind of worn out as well. See that? How it's kind of pointy right there. And on this one, you can see it's nice and flat in there, where this rests on there. So that's the valve right there. This one is worn out. So we're probably gonna have to replace that valve. But for testing purposes, we're just gonna try this, see what happens. All right, so now clearance is perfect on both valves here. I've got the intake set to 4, the exhaust set to 6. So what we're gonna do is test compression again. I wonder if this valve not opening was causing some compression issues. So let's check it one more time, make sure. All right, turn this on. Here we go, throttle open. So that's what we should be at, 170. We were at like 200. So that came down right to where we're supposed to be. That sounds a lot better. So it was actually causing compression to go up. So we are perfect now. We are going to rotate the engine over again to top dead center, make sure that the clearance is still good after turning it over a couple times. I'm a little bit worried about that valve in there being worn off. I don't like that, so we're definitely gonna have to replace that at some point. But for testing purposes, like I said before, I want to run this thing. I want to see if there's any other problems with the engine before we order up parts for it. All right, we have really good blue spark and very good compression. So let's go ahead and go on to the carb. Let's get that out and see if that's all dirty. All right, let's get this carb out of here. So this is gonna be a CV carb. It's gonna have a diaphragm in it. So let's see if that's ripped. Look like you have to take the air box off or anything to get the carb out. Let's see if we can get this thing out of here. This hose is going into the frame there. Okay, wasn't too bad. All right, so we've got a choke here. Get this one off. There we go. choke, ooh, lots of gas coming out of the carb. It definitely was getting gas. Try to get this choke off. There we go. See if the choke was working. Looks like it was. Let's see. Yep, choke's working. All right, carb is out. What kind of carb is it? Looks like an old Mikuni carb. Let's see if the slide was going up. Yep. All right, let's take a peek in there. See if there's any gas left in here. Oh, yeah, a lot of it came out from before. It looked like it was bright yellow gas in there. Yeah, look at that. It's really yellow. We can take these hoses off. One there, one here. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't look horrible. A little gunk in there. Not too bad. Thought it was gonna be a lot worse than that. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad at all. Alright, will that pin come out of there? A subscriber sent me this punch, and you can actually lower and raise the tension on it. So let's try that one out. Whoa, where did that shoot to? Shot across the room. Holy cow. There it is. That worked out pretty well. That popped right out of there. Jeez. So that worked out. I think we need to lower the tension even further. All right, let's see what the needle looks like. Needle looks good. Float looks good. No gas in the float at all. The seat has a little crud in there. You can see discolored a little bit. We can actually take that out, the seat. And there's going to be an O-ring underneath it that probably needs replacing. Otherwise that can leak gas out of there. So if this comes out pretty easily, it most likely needs to be replaced. Yeah, actually looks pretty good. But that seat needs to be cleaned out. So O-ring looked pretty good. You can see down in there, a lot of discolored gas. All right, main jet coming out next. Let's see what we're running for main jet. Looks like it's going to be a 130 main. That was clear. There it is. Got a little washer on there. All right. And our pilot is way down in there. Let's get that out. That's gotta be clogged. All right, pilot is a 42.5. Yeah, it's clogged. All right, 42.5 pilot, and it is clogged. I hear something in here. Looks like the needle is loose in there. Look at that. The needle's just bouncing around in there. Look, it's gone now. That should not be happening at all. So as you push that up, look at that needle. Oh, just disappeared again. So something's going on in there. That needle should not be just free floating in there. Oh, lots of problems. So the fuel screw is, let's see, 1, 2, 2.5 turns out. That sounds about right. And then there's going to be a spring in there. Oh, it popped out of there. Usually with an O-ring and a washer as well. So we'll get that out. Yeah, they're right down in there. There's the washer. There's a little O-ring. Let's open this up before we open up the diaphragm. Let's see what's going on underneath here. Is there a spring underneath here? Let's see. Yep, looks like it. Alright, looks pretty clean in there. Here's another little piece here. Looks like maybe that was clogged right there. Got your spring. You've got your diaphragm here. See if this diaphragm looks good. Yeah, no rips in this one. So that looks good. So it's diaphragm, spring, and then that cover. So that goes on. Alright, now let's take a look at the slide and the diaphragm here. This should be interesting. That needle was free floating in there. Got a little spring there. That looks good. Here's the diaphragm. Yeah. And it looks like we are missing the stopper plate for the needle. So what happens is typically this spring sits on that stopper plate that goes over the needle, and it prevents that needle from coming up like that. See that? But there's no plate in there that the spring can rest on, so the needle can actually go right through the spring like this. See that? So there needs to be a little plate in there that the spring can sit on and press down on that needle. Otherwise that needle is just going to keep on coming up. Otherwise it doesn't look bad. Diaphragm isn't ripped or anything. No holes, no tears, no rips. A little crease right there, but yeah, that looks good, luckily. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the carb. We can go ahead and let this one sit in the ultrasonic cleaner for a little bit. Carb body going in. Put our hoses in there. All of our jets going in. Alright, we can let that cook for about 30 minutes and we should be good to go. Alright, carb is out of the ultrasonic cleaner. It took about 30 minutes to get that looking brand new. So we had a couple fixes we had to do as well. There's a little O-ring that was missing underneath this cover here. So we put that in. And that seals off that passageway coming into the slide there. You can see it goes up into here. So we blocked that off with the O-ring. That looks good. And then we fixed the needle. Remember before it was jumping around in there, and it could actually go all the way up through the slide and into the diaphragm. So we put a stopper plate on there, and the spring pushes against that stopper plate. So now that needle is nice and tight in there. So we fixed that, and then the pilot was clogged, so we unclogged the pilot. So this thing's all good to go. we shouldn't have any more issues with it. So let's get this thing installed back onto the bike. All right, make sure that's working. Yep. All right, then we've got our throttle cable. Like this. And then up through here. See if it's working. How yellow that is. We can get our spark plug back in here. We have fresh fuel in it. I put new lines on and a fuel filter. So let's see if that's working. There we go. Cool. All right, we'll see if the carb leaks here. So far, so good. Well, I think we're ready for the first start attempt here. So we confirmed we have great spark. We have good compression at 170 PSI. We fixed that adjustment screw on the valve, so that's all good to go. Timing is spot on. We cleaned out the carb and fixed a couple problems with the carb, and then we put a new filter on from the gas line. So everything is good to go. We got new fuel in it. There's no reason this thing shouldn't fire up. So let's give it a go. We're gonna choke it, see what happens here. Choke it. Battery dying. What I'm talking about, fired right up. So the battery was just a little bit low. But yeah, sounds really good. Not too bad. Give it a couple revs. Comes right back down to idle. Sounding great. Not a lot of top end noise, even though that valve is damaged. Or the top of the valve, I should say. Still sounds pretty good. Really peppy. No smoke. Not too bad. No leaking at all. Carb is tight. Idling perfectly. So far, so good. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Alright, we're gonna let this idle for a bit. We'll shut it down and see if we can start it back up. Fire it back up here. Instant. So that's good. Means the valve clearance didn't change at all. Alright, this thing is running great. So what we're going to do is put all the plastics back on, put the seat back on, and attempt to take it for the first ride, and then we'll see if any more issues pop up before we start ordering up some parts for this thing. So I noticed that this bolt hole is just completely stripped out. So let's retap that. There we go. See if our bolt fits in there. Oh yeah. That's fixed. Well, the goat did not disappoint. Everything is working perfectly on it. So far it's holding up, that valve is holding up, and everything is good to go. So it has good power, all the brakes work, suspension feels good, all the lights are working. So if we fix that valve, I think this thing's gonna be good to go. So let's go back home and order up some parts. Well, we made it back home and this thing survived. So this bike is running great. So what we're gonna do is probably order up an intake valve for this thing. So on this side, we saw that that valve was kind of chewed up on the top of it. So probably a couple keepers, the valve, and then probably a gasket kit, or at least a head gasket for it. And we'll take that valve out, replace the valve seals, put it back in, and we should be perfect. So everything else should be good. You can hear a little noise on the top end, I think, from that valve, you know, being a little bit chewed up. But otherwise, I mean, it has great power, has good speed, and everything works. So that was definitely the problem. That was definitely the noise that the seller was hearing, for sure. So we fixed that up and this thing ran great. And the carb was really, really janky as well. It was missing that stopper plate for the needle. So that needle would have been jumping up and down, running like crap. So luckily we figured that out. And that was missing the little O-ring up here. So it would have had a pretty bad air leak there as well. So a couple major problems with this bike that we were able to figure out. Luckily we were able to fix and take this thing for a little test drive. Everything else is working on the bike. So I think if we order up that valve, top end gasket kit, I think we're gonna be good to go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed picking up this 1992 Serow 225. Pretty fun bike to work on. It's gonna be a great bike once we finish it all up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.